And I'll just say that I don't always talk about superheroes, but when I do, boom, things change. So that's what I'm hoping to give you is just a little quick pow bang whap yippee tool to change. So something to put in your utility belt because we are here for the Fit One Weight Loss Challenge, so we're looking to actually change our relationship and what we see in the mirror. So this is a tool to help you use for that and actually anything in your life you're looking to change. So my plan, and if you can tell, when I get really excited and enthusiastic, I talk really fast. So if you need me to slow down, just say, hey, lady, can you slow it down a little, and I will do my best. But I do want to keep it a little bit short so that you still have a little bit of your midday to do some things that you need to do, and we'll save some time for questions if there are any at the end. So let's see. So, you know, what's interesting is when I was coming up with this outline and thinking about gratitude and what I wanted to say and what I wanted to present, I was actually interested not immediately, but upon reflection, but how much resistance came up when I was thinking about gratitude, because I don't know how many of you maybe have had a similar background or training as I had, where a lot of the energy and ideas around gratitude actually was sort of like an emotional manipulation, either from my parents or then taken on by me as far as something that I should do in a way that I should be. And using gratitude as a way to overlook things that I didn't like or that weren't working or things that people were saying or doing that were maybe hurting me, but then trying to be grateful for them to just ignore that. And so there was a lot of resistance that came up when I was thinking gratitude, and I was thinking, wow, I'm pretty ungrateful and judging myself for that. So I don't know if anybody wants to type in, has anybody had an experience similar to that, where when somebody tells you to be grateful, you just think of like grateful with gritted teeth? This is another thing I should be doing. Anyone? I don't know. Maybe I have a unique experience that way, but that's just something that came up for me. So I was like, you know, it seems like maybe a little bit different way to start, but let's start by talking about what gratitude is not. It's not an obligation. It's not a thought. It's not smiling and pretending. It's not a list of good qualities of someone or something to overlook something that you don't like. It's not a way to manipulate yourself or anybody else to do something that you don't want to do. What gratitude actually is, we think it's a feeling, but it's actually a space. It's not a thing, it's not a list, it's actually just a space, kind of a feeling, and actually an effervescent, bubbly feeling, and it flows. It actually opens and lifts. That's actually the energy of gratitude. And that space that opens up and the elevation that it allows is actually what gives you kind of the oomph and the room to change, to feel joy, to feel vibrant and alive. That's what gratitude actually offers. And so to give you kind of an experiential taste of gratitude, so that you can kind of tell, am I doing gratitude out of obligation, out of trying to manipulate or change something that I don't like, or am I doing gratitude as allowing a space to open? I will actually do, it's the shortest meditation that I know. It was one of the first ones that my teachers taught me. And it's, if you're sitting, just make yourself comfortable. You don't have to be stiff or rigid, but maybe just allowing a little bit more oxygen into the body. So you just take a breath in, either through your nose or your mouth, but when you let out the audible sound, ah. So here we go. Ah. Ah is a very open sound. There's no walls, no barriers, no necessarily easily defined beginning and ending to the word ah. That's actually kind of what gratitude feels like. It's an energy and it flows. So when I'm talking about that and feeling just the ah and the change that we've experienced just in the room right there, that energetic shift, like, why don't we have that all the time? I might look a little bit crazy just going, you know, like, so how do I get that kind of experience and feeling without looking crazy or, you know, being ridiculous? So what keeps us from having that space all the time is actually judgment. We fill our time and our space with judgment. And some of those are really, really obvious judgments. As far as bringing it into the Fit One Weight Loss Challenge, it might be the judgments that we have about, oh, yes? Do we have a comment? Okay. Yeah. So it might be the judgments that we have about ourselves or our body, thinking it's not good enough, it's not pretty enough, this is too tight, that color looks awful on me. What are people going to think if I eat this? I can't believe I just ate all that. Like all of the actual just judgments that are definable judgments we feel. Some of them that are a little bit more subtle, things that we've been modeled and trained to have, and a lot of those are expectations and shoulds. How things should be, how they should go, what I think I should look like, what I think I should choose as an activity. I know I have a big one. This is how technology should work. It should work. That makes me so angry when technology doesn't work. It's supposed to. That's a judgment. Conclusions that we think we're actually just being very clever and smart and thorough and trying to figure things out, but a lot of times we're looking for a conclusion. This is how it is. This is what's going to work. This is what we do. This is how I handle things. And we're not very open to flowing with how things are actually arriving in our life. And that takes up a lot of space and time and uses up a whole lot of energy. So judgment is a space filler and a joy killer. And sadly enough, that's actually what most of us have as our standard operating procedure, whether we'd like to acknowledge that or not. And the thing about acknowledging it doesn't necessarily mean then we go into judgment and judging ourselves for having all this judgment. If we acknowledge, oh, that sounds a little bit about like what I do. Yeah, I've had some of those thoughts. It's like, okay, now we know we have some space that's being filled by judgment that we could replace with gratitude and open that space and allow change to happen more easily. And how we end up in this judgment and how that becomes our standard operating procedure, this is where we're getting into gratitude changing your brain. Our brain actually has an immune system function that at rest, there's immune cells called microglial cells. And what they do is kind of roam around the garden of your brain and they prune it. But they're not looking at optimal health or what will make you happier and more productive. They look at which synapses are used the most often. Those they prune to make faster and more effective. The synapses that we're not using as often get pruned away because they obviously are redundant or not needed because they're not being used very often. So that's how your brain's actually working with the immune system to maintain its energy and actually make things faster and better because they think if it's being used, it must be important. That's how it maintains it. It's not looking at optimal health. It doesn't have any sort of parameters or checklist for this one works this way and this one works this way. Just, is it being used? Yes or no. So when we are judging ourselves and looking in the mirror and saying, I don't like this is a problem, this is a problem, you're using those synapses and they're firing and firing and firing repeatedly so that when you go to rest, and especially if you do anything like I do, and the last thing I do is look in the mirror and be like, wow, you look tired. You go to sleep with those critical synapses being fired so that when you go to sleep or when you take a nap or any downtime, the microglial cells are actually being like, okay, those are the ones we need to keep. And so it actually makes it easier to find things to complain about, to find things that are wrong, to continue getting in the rut of I have to figure this out, this is how things are supposed to go. So this is how judgment, microglial cells, and standard operating procedure kind of are coming together in a perfect storm. So how gratitude works as far as being an amazing tool to have in the utility belt is that is an immediate cycle break. Because gratitude and judgment cannot coexist. One takes up space, one creates space. So they can't be operating at the same time. So that if you choose to use gratitude, you effectively, immediately stop the judgment.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Because that's really interesting, JOYLYN, because here at my department at St. Luke's, we have had kind of a saying for a long time that we promote strong, not skinny. So we want our bodies to be strong. And as a woman who is almost 50 years old, I can assure you that I've had those judgments about my own body, about, you know, my thighs are too thick, or my wrinkles on my eyes, or, you know, deeper. But what I have found is that when I give thanks that my body is strong, I'm able to ride my horses, I'm able to go for long hikes, I'm able to hunt with my husband, whatever it is, and I give thanks, it does exactly what you're saying. It's like I no longer see my little dimpled thighs. I see my legs as powerful tools that take me to the top of mountains.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so just on a personal level, I've found that shift the last couple of years. As my body gets older, it's not going to look what I looked like in my 20s, but it's probably stronger now than it's ever been in my life. And it's allowed me a lot of more joy and appreciation and self-love.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yes, yay. See?
How that
it works.
It does. And like you said, if you appreciate it, I can't dislike it because I enjoy it.
Yes, exactly. Because you're taking away that judgment. And the judgment including the expectation of what I want to look like and what I think I should look like.
Right.
And putting it more on the functionality and the enjoyment of it. You know, and so that's awesome. So thank you.
Yeah.
So what I like about gratitude then is it's so pragmatic. It works. It doesn't work necessarily the way we think it does, because what we've been doing is using it, or possibly using it in line with the judgment and trying to just make a nice judgment over a negative judgment. That's not what gratitude is. It's actually when there's nothing else but thank you, and all that comes up is this bubble. Thank you. You know, as far as being like, look at what I just did. I just did that. I was just strong there. So that's what we're trying to do is create more space. So when we do that, what's interesting and really important to note that, again, when we're really practicing judgment, it's easy to come up there and stop ourselves. It is not what items are on there or the length of the list that matters when you're doing gratitude. It's actually the choice to search for things to have gratitude for. That's actually the brain shift. And if you were at the Reveal Your Inner Superhero thing, you remember the superpower of choice. It's just the choice to search for something to have gratitude for that actually makes all the difference. So it doesn't even matter if there's anything circumstantially or obvious, but if you're just like, I'm having a crap day and I would like to have something else, is there something I could be grateful for? That question alone actually starts things turning and opening up space in a different way. So that is so important to notice, because I know that sometimes when we get kind of caught in inertia of judgment and critical thinking and looking at things critically, it's easy to see more things. But if you're like, okay, I'm going to change how I'm going to do that the gratitude doesn't necessarily always start as opening the floodgates. It kind of starts as a trickle, and that starts with a choice to have gratitude for something. And so once you do that, we start changing which synapses are firing and making the ones geared towards gratitude being used more frequently. Your microglial cells, if they start seeing that being used, they're like, we have to keep those. We actually have to start making those more efficient, to where the more you do gratitude, the easier it is to have gratitude flowing in your thoughts, in your mind, and in your life.
So when they talk about remapping your brain,
that's actually how it's happening. This is the remodeling. Yeah, because it actually is a physiological process. Like these microglial cells are breaking down certain things and making some connections go away and making some stronger.
That's awesome.
And the neurons that fire together wire together. So, like, you know, if using your walk to feel gratitude, you'll actually, just when you walk, actually start feeling kind of a spaciousness when you walk, even if you're walking. So that's just another topic for another time, but that's fun to know that too. So it's it's all about creating more flow, more ease, because when we move towards gratitude, that becomes to flow more easily. You have more space that judgment used to be filling, and all this energy, because what judgment actually kind of looks like is the spackling. You're trying to create a barrier, keep things in or out of your life, trying to hold yourself together, man, and all that judgment, that actually takes a lot of energy. And so when you start releasing that, what we fear will happen is that we'll just go totally out of control and nothing will make sense. But when we actually allow a little bit more flow in our life, there's more energy, and we find that there's more time, so that if we're just like, oh, I have 20 minutes before I have to do something, what would I like to do in this 20 minutes? You might say, you know what? I'm going to take the dog for a walk. And you walk with your dog for 20 minutes instead of sitting down and opening a bag of chips or just watching TV or calling somebody to hash out something that maybe is not actually a very vibrant or interesting conversation either, but one that we're used to having. So that is, I guess, gratitude in a nutshell. And again, just to reiterate, it's a cycle break, and that's what makes it such a powerful tool to actually use when you're really kind of struggling to change the direction that things are going. So if there's any questions, otherwise we're actually going to do the gratitude exercise. Do we have any questions or comments right now?
Kelly, Kathy, Malene, anybody have any comments or personal experiences?
I'll fill in the blank here, because I know, again, having resistance sometimes to the gratitude, but when I would finally surrender and do the list and try to write down at least 3 things every day. And for the first, 4 days, it was exactly the same, because I was just struggling to find anything I was grateful for, because my life just looked like crap at that time. But I kept doing it, and I kept doing it, and the list would grow, and they would be more subtle things, more detailed things that I would find. But I remember, and it might have been, maybe a solid month of me doing this, and I finally made the list. And I cry every time I talk about it, because that moment comes back. Like, that was so powerful, because in my life, I had just been something that I had to put up with, that I had to deal with. I was such a source, and my body was such a source of judgment. And what I thought my body was the problem, and why I had all these limitations, and that my life would just work if my body looked different. And when I started to finally change that around, and again, like you said, like, I felt strong. I saw what I actually did with my body, like what I was accomplishing with different activities and sports and things, and really powerfully seeing myself as a gift in my life. And we talked about in Reveal Your Inner Superhero, our fatal flaw is not acknowledging the superhero that we are. And so when I started acknowledging that I was a benefit to my own life, I could actually be like, wow, how do I get even more of that? I've seen what I can do here and here. What else am I capable of? And it really does start a powerful momentum, but going in the direction that I'd always tried to go and wanted to go, but it actually just naturally flowed that way, because my brain was actually changing. I was changing the way that I saw myself, and I was changing the way that I was operating in the world, and getting rid of a lot of these judgments to where there just was more energy and more openness and willingness for me to ask a question. Well, like, what else is possible then? Like, I've seen this, I've acknowledged this, like, wow, this is really amazing, powerful stuff. So that's what I'd really like for you guys to have for you. To use for the weight loss challenge and for every part of your life, actually. So before we end, I hope you guys have access to a piece of paper, a tablet, a phone, write yourself an email. But if we could just take 5 minutes to write down 3 things that that you have gratitude, that really kind of have this effervescent, like Coke bubble, champagne bubble kind of thing, and pop, there's a thank you, like, wow, this is amazing. So take some time to write down 3 things. And I would love it if you guys would share with me, because I want to hear some of them. And I'll give you just a minute where I'll shut up, but then I'll offer you a couple of starters if you're having trouble too.
Awesome. All right, we'll take a minute here. So we'll give you some quiet. All right, we're back.
All right, I'm going to give you a few options if you don't have anything on your list, or if you want to add to your list. Something to be grateful for is your choice to be on this call. That was a choice that you made and time that you actually dedicated to changing your life. The choice to be in the challenge. Again, same thing, your choice to put your money where your mouth is and actually go for greater and make a change and get the support and the tools and the resources and the motivation and the group dynamics it takes to actually make a change, because changing your body sometimes can be very daunting. I sometimes am so grateful for the softness of my dog's fur and how he just absolutely loves to sit in my lap, and it makes me feel special, because if nobody else cares about me, my dog does. And that's helpful, you know, just to see somebody so enthusiastic for me to come in the door. Yeah. If you have a cat, you may or may not experience that, but they do love you too.
I have a cat, and she loves me very, very much.
They just may or may not. I've only known one cat that greeted people at the door.
Oh, my cat does?
That's awesome.
Yeah, she meows. Yeah. Okay. All right. So what about people on the call? Kathy, I know you're with us. Can you share 1 or 2 of yours with us? Oh, Kat. Okay. Kelly, how about you? Got a quiet, shy bunch. Anybody want to share?
This is Mylene. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Mylene.
Hi. I wrote down that I am grateful for I call it the room or the energy in my life to be able to make healthy choices. So, you know, there's been times in my life where the stress has been so high that I've just been so physically exhausted that there was no room to take care of me.
Yeah.
And so, so this year I've been able to create the room in my life to put me first.
Nice. That, for some reason, makes me think that I am really grateful to have a bathtub. Now, I was in a place I only had a shower that had 2 temperature settings, cold or skin melting, and now I have total control and temperature range and a bathtub. And like you said, self-care, that made me think of that. I'm really grateful to have that. It's little things you sometimes take for granted.
That's awesome. So Kelly is on the line, and she wrote in the chat bar, she said, I'm grateful that I have the ability to change my mindset.
Yes, that is a superpower. So yay you for acknowledging that. Woo!
That's excellent. Sai, are you with us? I don't know. I think sometimes people can hear us, but they can't chat with us. Well, again, this is Lisa with St. Luke's, and one of the things I always feel gratitude when I go grocery shopping. Because one, we have such an abundant access to fresh food, and two, that I have the wealth, you know, the money to buy the food to feed myself and my family. So that's when I always feel gratitude for. So
yeah, I guess one of mine is I finally ran this morning. I've been talking myself out of it for days and days because it's cold and dark and the covers felt so good. But today I actually did it, and I saw the steam rising off the river and all the ducks and geese and the way the light filters through the trees, and just it was kind of quiet. There wasn't many people on the path, and so it was nice and quiet. And it was a route I don't normally take because I normally do the trails, but it was so muddy because it rained so much yesterday, so I took a different, and I was just really like, thank you, JOYLYN. Like, my body was like, thank you. This is really what I wanted. Like, the cool, crisp air in my lungs. The whole thing. It was bliss.
Awesome. All right. Very good. Anybody else? Last opportunity. Going once. Going twice.
Awesome. Well, so much gratitude for you for sharing this time and for showing up on this call and letting me talk about something that I like. I love talking about this. And again, if you're on my list, and I think we've recorded this call, so we'll send out a recording and you'll get another chance to kind of hear this. It's a great way to go into Thanksgiving and give Thanksgiving a different meaning, as in far as letting it really be thanks that bubble up and effervescent, like a space arising from your heart instead of something that you're piling on top of it is what you should do. And if you don't have that experience, that is fantastic. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. I'm just talking from personal experience. But if you've had that, I just want to let you know you're not alone. But let Thanksgiving be something that's really flowing from your heart and allows more flow and room and space in your life. And the changes that you're looking to make will actually come much, much easier.
Oh, it looks like I got some. Kathy says, for whatever reason, I don't have the ability to speak. So she said she's grateful that she's a resilient woman.
Yes.
Yay.
Yeah.
She's creative and solution-oriented. Oh, Kathy, thank you so much. That's awesome. Very nice. Oh, class, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you. Thank you again. And I guess just to keep it brief, my name is Dr. JOYLYN Maniaci. I run the Happiness Clinic, and I do individual and group life coaching. The groups will start in January, so I'd love to have you on board. And if I don't see you or talk to you before, happy Thanksgiving, and then I'll be doing something, early December, I can't remember the date.
December 5th.
You'll get the notification.
Yes, that's right.
Yep.
That's right. Okay, thanks everybody.
Where do we find information about your classes? Where do we find that information?
For all the weight loss challenge related things, you'll actually be getting the email from the Fit One Weight Loss Challenge. And if you want to get on my list to keep up with anything else I'm doing out and about, you can go to ihappentethings.com, and that's my website, and you can sign up for the email list there, or like my Facebook page, and you'll be in the loop.
Okay, I happen to things?
I happen to things, yep. Because happiness is actually happiness. When you're happy, you are happening, and so things aren't happening to you, you happen to things. So that's my wordery.
I like it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks, everybody. Have an awesome, awesome day.